Ontario, Canada. I'm the Derby Nerd, joined by Mr. Whistler on the mic. It's been a long time, Mr. Whistler. Welcome back to the Boatcast.
Long time no speak.
We are getting set for our primetime main event tonight. Two games between two teams that are very closely matched, I believe, in skill. We should have two phenomenal bouts coming up. First up on the track.
I was going to say, that's right. Right now, in the whites, you're going to be introducing Bleeding Heartland, currently number 42 in the WFTDA.
And playing for Bleeding Heartland, number 13, Shandarood. Number 135, Speedium Rear. Number 2, Thigh Candy. Number 23, Mad Eye Maggie. Number 314, Bipolar Curves. Number 37, the Oxford Comma, one of my favorite derby names. Number 38, Special Sass. Number 407, Hurricane. Number 44, Knuckle Sammy. Number 51, Bruzy Ricardo. At number 594, Malls Dolls. Number 6, Spools of Dread. Number 70, the Mercedes. And number 727, Eddie Muncher. That is your 2014 Bleeding Heartland Roller Girls Flatliners.
That's right, and they're currently being introduced on the track right now by Dick Smack, who has come all the way up from Bloomington for Quad City Chaos, his first time across the border.
That's right. Not only is it an all-star weekend of games and players, we also have all-star announcing crews here this weekend.
We do. We've been fortunate to have Plastic Patrick and Single Malt Scott are both here from Montreal. And, of course, Inspector Muffin was here a little while ago for Ohio. And there, I fixed the mic.
And now coming out in black are your Ohio Roller Girls.
That's right. They will be wearing black tonight. They're skating out right now. Some high-five action happening here. And just going through the roster as they get introduced. At 0125 is Paige Bleed. Number 10, Laura, Out of My Way, Man. Amy Spears, 1098. Jesse Avatar Fox, 1101. One of my favorite derby names from Ohio is Kitty Lickerbottom, wearing number 12. We have Texas Chainsaw Sasskicker, number 19. She played a little bit earlier this afternoon for Ohio's Gangrene in a bout against the Bay Street Bruisers in the B game here. Hop Devil, number 33. The Smacktivist, 365. Very popular skater out of Ohio. 451 is Bernadette. 50 is Skate Crime. All right, number 59 is Z. Lorraine Acid Gulerdigan. That's Bill Murray, the house announcer for Toronto Roller Derby, who is currently doing the intros, by the way. Big Rig 815. In a Flash, ICU2 is her number. And Electra Magneto V0LT. Volt is what that spells. She is bringing up the rear there for Ohio right now. Inspector Muffin, in his first year as coach for the Ohio Roller Girls, wearing the A for this one.
And the Ohio Roller Girls come into this tournament ranked 22nd in the WFTDA. Both of these teams, though, have suffered losses already today and are 0-1. Now going to send things over to Joey Miller for our national anthems.
ladies and gentlemen. Joey Miller, who's here as a photographer representing the Bleeding Heartland Roller Girls, also shoots from Nashville. He took the mic and ran with it. So wonderful job there by Joey on the anthems. I'll have to thank him later.
He's a Renaissance man, and he looks great in a bow tie.
He does.
All right,
who doesn't, though?
We'd like to thank our Tour TV crew, of course. Layer 9, Mr. Force is producing. Honey Boom Boom will be directing, fresh off of a victory for the Bay Street Bruisers. And our camera crew tonight is Titmouse, Lowblow, Palooza, Demolition Dawn, and Wheels of Misfortune will be our text caster. You can talk to us at talk2 QCC on Twitter. And here we are. First game of our primetime doubleheader is now underway.
That's right. Bleeding Heartland in white. That's number 44, Knuckle Sammy, who's jamming for Bleeding Heartland. And Ohio in black, the Smacktivist. And the Smacktivist is our first lead jammer of this Game 4 of QCC.
Both these jammers had phenomenal games earlier on. Knuckle Sammy really caught CN Power off guard in the early goings of their game. Picked up a lot of points, but it's the Smacktivist right now picking up points. Picks up 4, calls it off.
Both jammers really good with footwork. Lots of close calls on cutting that they are able to save and stay in bounds during the early going this afternoon.
So first blood goes to Ohio Roller Girls. This is the 5th WFTDA-sanctioned meeting lifetime between these two teams. Ohio has the decided advantage right now. They've won all 4 of those previous meetings.
And Ohio is sending to the 1234 skate code jammer line right now. Number 12, Kitty Lickerbottom. And jamming in the white for Bleeding Heartland is 135 Speedium Rear, another jammer who had some early success against Toronto earlier today.
That's right. Toronto, of course, turned that game around. Bleeding Heartland got off to a great start, and they're looking to do the same here, but it's Ohio now picking up their second straight lead jammer, and Kitty Lickerbottom is your lead jammer. Nice little drag back there by Ohio, but the Bleeding Heartland jammer does eventually make her way through. Kitty Lickerbottom coming up on her scoring pass now. It's got a few to beat on the first straightaway. Does. Takes a look at her bench, decides to call it off. Another quick pickup for Ohio. They're now up 8-0 after 2 jams.
Yep. Now making an appearance on the 1234 skate code jammer line, the Smacktivist once again 365 in black for Ohio. New jammer on the line for Bleeding Heartland is 314 Bipolar Curves.
Bleeding Heartland, of course, lost earlier today to CN Power 384 to 69. Ohio lost as well, pretty big, 385 to 158 to the Montreal New Skids on the block. So both teams, one of these teams is going to get their first win of this tournament.
That's right. Last year, Ohio swept the tournament and went 3-0 here at QCC. It's their second appearance at Quad City Chaos, their third time playing in Toronto, as they did play here in the summer of 2012.
And the Smacktivist is lead jammer again. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Smacktivists in this game. Already going back, taking 1 off, 1 on. And I expect we'll see that a lot, at least until Ohio can build some sort of lead here. Nice little drag back on the Smacktivist, is trying to pick up points, calls it off. We'll get at least 3. And all 4 points picked up for Smacktivist on that one.
And Mac may be trying to get in there to be considered for MVP of this tournament. There will be an MVP ceremony on Sunday afternoon following Game 8. One of the main prizes will be provided by Radar Wheels. Radar Wheels, big sponsor here this weekend. Radar Presto is proud to sponsor Quad City Chaos, they say. Radar Presto, say, these are nice.
4-3 pack advantage here for Ohio. First penalty of the game going to the Bleeding Heartland blocker. It's Out of My Way Man, number 10 in the black, jamming, pushing her way through a 2-wall at turn number 2, and another lead jammer picked up for Ohio. And that is 4th lead jammer in a row for the skaters in black.
Knuckle Sammy has made it through the pack. She's completed her initial pass, but she is a little bit far behind right now, so she's going to see if she can pick up some ground before Out of My Way Man calls this jam.
And Out of My Way Man will pick up 3 points on that pass to pad the Ohio Roller Girls lead now 15-0 as we just come up to the 4-minute mark of the first half. Very impressive, the endurance of these Ohio skaters. There's a couple of skaters on the team who are playing their 3rd game of the day. They also played for Gangrene in the B-team game just a few hours ago.
That's Kitty Lickerbottom. She's right now sitting in the sugarbomb.ca penalty box, number 12 for Ohio.
Smacktivist again, 1 off, 1 on, back onto the 1234 jam line for the Ohio Roller Girls in black.
It's Speedium Rear jamming right now for Bleeding Heartland. Both jammers rounding turn 2. Lots of jostling in this pack right now.
Bleeding Heartland has the front of the pack, hoping to hold Smacktivis back, but nice offense being run by Ohio, and Smacktivis is through for the 5th straight lead jammer pickup.
However, Speedium Rear right on her tail.
Oh, and Smacktivis getting physical, sends Speedium Rear off the track, and she will be swallowed by the pack. And Avatar with another nice hit out and a drag back as well.
That was a great hit by Mac on Speedium Rear. Looks like she's going to try to lap her.
Smacktivis doing it all. Great defensive jamming. Nice moves. Have picked up at least 3 points on this pass, looking for that 4th and final. And there it is, 5 points picked up on the Grand Slam for the Smacktivist. This is exactly, I think, the kind of start that the Ohio Roller Girls were looking for and didn't get earlier today against Montreal.
Yeah, and right now we've got Speedium Rear dragged all the way back to the good old-fashioned pivot line there by Amy Spears. That's going to allow Smacktivis to come around again for more points.
A nice little outside-in juke there.
Mac is running this like a power jam, although it is not a power jam.
Phenomenal defense from the Ohio blockers. It's 4-on-4 in the pack. But advantaged clearly right now going, and it looks like Avatar is going to get an elbowing penalty for that. And that's going to tie things up 3-3 in the pack. No, another Ohio blocker. And this is a problem that Ohio ran into earlier, too, with many blocker penalties, and now only 2 blockers on the track. That jam is going to come to an end.
And it looks like we're going to get a timeout being called on the track here by Bleeding Heartland. It's a reminder that this timeout, like all timeouts this weekend at Quad City Chaos, is brought to you by Jackson Skates. Jackson Roller is a Canadian company committed to engaging elite skaters in product development to ensure its boots deliver world-class performance. Jackson Elite and competitor boots feature the Pilot Falcon extruded aluminum plates, Bionic Swiss bearings, and your choice of atom. That would be Juke, G-Rod, or DNA wheels. Visit them online at jacksonroller.com.
And Bleeding Heartland taking this timely timeout down 40-0, 6 minutes into this first half. They had such a great start, really caught CN Power off guard before CN Power could kind of take control of that game. But Bleeding Heartland has kind of been bleeding since about the 15-minute mark of that first half. And they've got to try and stem the flow.
You had that one in your back pocket, didn't you?
Only 6 points they've scored in the last 46 minutes of roller derby. So they're going to have to try and pick up some offense here somewhere. They do have a 3-2 pack advantage. See if they can use it.
Ohio right now sending a new jammer to this 1234 Skako jammer line, and that's a Big Rig in the black, and Knuckle Sammy, number 44 for Bleeding Heartland, in white, also on that 1234 Skako jammer line.
Although Knuckle Sammy setting up a little bit behind the jam line, hoping to maybe slip by Big Rig, but Big Rig is keeping an eye over her shoulder. And a nice little hit out from Big Rig. She was ready for that, but Knuckle Sammy with a very quick, clean re-entry. Oh, sorry, it is a no pass, no penalty, so she is not your lead jammer. Out of my way, man, just took a high block to the head. She's all right, though. And Knuckle Sammy around, and there it is. First points on the board now for the Bleeding Heartland Roller Girls. That timeout obviously worked.
Big Rig gets through and calls it as soon as she is eligible. But not before a Grand Slam. 5 big roller derby points come up for Bleeding Heartland.
Power pack advantage remains for Bleeding Heartland. And sending another new jammer to the line. That's number 13 in the white, Shanda Rude.
Yep, she's one of the captains for Bleeding Heartland.
Did jam a little bit late in the game against CN Power. Gives kind of a physical component to the offense.
She does, for sure. And Kitty Lickerbottom, number 12, jamming for Ohio. And we have a lead jammer for Bleeding Heartland. They're going to try to take advantage of this. So far, it appears that whatever was said during that timeout may have been the right thing, at least for right now, for Bleeding Heartland Flatliners.
And already there was a helmet cover pass as Out of My Way Man is taken over as jammer from Kitty Lickerbottom. But Shanda Rude already coming around to score in the second straightaway. Nice fast pack defense from the Ohio skaters in black. Oh, back block being called on Shanda Rude. She is heading to the penalty box. That momentum that they just picked up, slipping away from Bleeding Heartland as Ohio goes on their first power jam of this game.
And yeah, she was ready to call that jam before Ohio scored. And unfortunately, yeah, she is now sitting in the sugarbomb.ca penalty box over by turn 4 here at the bunker at Quad City Chaos.
And with no lead jammer, this will go the full 2 minutes. There's a full minute left on the jam clock.
That was a big hit there by number 407, Hurricane, dropping Out of My Way Man over by turn 2.
Keep your eye on number 407. She delivered some big hits in the CN Power game earlier today, too. She can be a menace in the pack. But right now, being a menace is Out of My Wayman, who is just racking up the points on this power jam. 55-5, 30 seconds remaining.
Yep, she was just doing some adjustments there on her jammer handle cover. The bench kind of giving her hand signals like, make sure that doesn't fall off. Can't score if you're not wearing the star.
Wow, interesting little argument going on the track there. I don't think the referee saw that. It was actually the pivot who was back with those skaters, and there was no pack called. And the Ohio blockers were not happy about that at all. Out of My Way Man takes a big tumble at turn number 4, gets right back up. Smart move showing her back to the blocker.
Yeah, Mercedes, last one to beat, has to let her go.
Just as Rude gets back onto the track, so power jam is over.
Yeah, that was a 25-2 jam in favor of Ohio.
Wow, 65-7, just coming up to the just past the 9-minute mark of this first half of the first of 2 games coming up this evening here at the Quad City Chaos. I'd like to remind you, too, that this is all DVR compatible, so if you miss the beginning of the game, feel free to back it up, start at the beginning, and you'll get caught right back up, and you won't miss a thing.
That's right. Right now, jamming for Ohio, number 365 in black is the Smacktivist, and number 314 for Bleeding Heartland, that's Bipolar Curves. However, the Smacktivist is your lead jammer right now.
Oh, more big hits. Lorraine Acid, who suffered a pretty bad injury to her hand in the first game, got it taped back up and missed about 2 jams, I think.
Yeah,
and
she's heavily wrapped right now, but I know it was run by our tournament head referee, Mattisfaction, and deemed that it is playable.
These Ohio roller girls are tough. I think they would have to actually lose limbs to stay off the track.
That's right.
And Smacktivist coming around now on yet another scoring pass, goes right into the block of the Bleeding Heartland blocker, chest to chest, but a nice little hit out by Malls Dolls.
Yep, number 594 in the white. Very imposing stature on the track. Mac with a nice move is through.
5 more points. Ohio Roller Girls running away with it early on in this one, 75-7, just over 10 minutes into the first half.
Yeah, they're trying to make up for that stinging loss they took to Montreal's new Skids on the block in the first bout of Quad City Chaos.
So it was kind of historic. They were the only 2 teams that had lifetime undefeated records at the Quad City Chaos. And that dropped Ohio to 3-1, and Montreal now 7-0 lifetime. Smacktivist calls that one off after a big pickup. 80-7 now is the score.
I just want to quickly tell you about one of our main vendors here at Quad City Chaos, also a sponsor, the Rumbling Rage Derby Shop. The Rumbling Rage Derby Shop is a Canadian roller derby-owned company based up in Barrie, Ontario. Beautiful Barrie, Ontario, not too far north of the city. And their mission is to provide you with accessible, high-quality products to play roller derby. You can find them online at rumblingrage.com. And if you're making an appearance here at the bunker this weekend, you can visit their booth.
Out of My Way Man jamming in quickly out to the front of the pack, but gets knocked out of bounds. Forced to come in behind the pack. This gives Knuckles Sammy an opportunity to work on the inside, and she is through at turn 2. Lead jammer for the Bleeding Heartland Roller Girls, only their second pickup of the game.
That's right. Paige Bleed, 0125, almost had her at turn 2, but she just squeaked by on the inside.
And Out of My Way Man able to push those blockers out of the way and get through on her first pass, but Knuckles Sammy already picking up points. And there it is, 4 more points put on the board for Bleeding Heartland. Sends them into double digits. Nice fast pack defense here from Bleeding Heartland. The Ohio blockers trying to catch up and just peel 1 point back. Out of My Way Man finally calls it a jam and calls it off.
So not quite halfway through the first. About 17 and a half minutes will be left on the period clock when this jam gets going. Your score right now, 80 for Ohio, 11 for Bleeding Heartland. And now appearing on the 1234 Skate Co. jammer line, we have number 13, Shandarood for Bleeding Heartland. And it looks like 365, the Smacktivist, returning to the line for Ohio.
2 very physical jammers. Similar styles. Smacktivist now coming up against a 2-wall at the front. Jukes out and then tries to take an inside line, but gets knocked to the inside, and that allows Shandarood to get through and pick up lead jammer.
That's right. Hurricane just slowed down Mac just enough to get her own jammer through.
And for the first time in this game, Smacktivist having a hard time, and a nice pickup again for Bleeding Heartland. That's 2 in a row now where they've gotten lead and picked up points. Only 3 on the board there, but nonetheless, they're slowly climbing their way back into it.
That's right. You're not going to see Mac get shut out very often. That's a rarity, I think, for this weekend in general.
The 2012 North Central WFTDA North Central Region Jammer MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this Ohio team made a big appearance at championships last year in Milwaukee, defeating Rat City in the first game before falling to the mighty Gotham Roller Girls.
That was, I believe, it was Lorraine Acid with a nice hit to the infield on Knuckle Sammy. And Knuckle Sammy right now showing that amazing footwork as she rounds turn 1. She's still determined to get through.
Yeah, an excellent skater, fast and agile, but having a hard time against a very smart Ohio pack. A nice little shove by Out of My Way Man to Avatar, who is almost able to knock Knuckle Sammy out, but Knuckle Sammy shrugs off the hit and gets through and is your lead jammer, as Big Rig also having a hard time against the 3-wall of Bleeding Heartland, led by
so yeah, Special Sass, I believe, is up there, causing a lot of damage as well. In fact, looks like Special Sass on her way to the SugarBomb.ca penalty box right now. I believe that was a blocking out of an out-of-play block there.
There's a big train on the way to the penalty box right now. The Sugar Bomb penalty box filling up quickly. Bruzy Ricardo going to come to the line for the first time for the Flatliners in this game.
Yep. Bruzy Ricardo, a late addition to the jammer rotation in their opening bout against Toronto earlier today. Had some success, so they're going to see if mixing things up a bit will see if they can minimize the damage that's happening right now. Your score is halfway through, 80-16 in favor of Ohio.
Oh, and a nice little push to the outside by Out of My Way Man. Frees up enough space and time for her jammer to get through, and Smacktivist is your lead jammer again. And the veterans really coming through for Ohio. A big hit, though, from number 13, Shanda Rude, jamming and hitting and doing it all. And being sent to the penalty box.
Yes.
Really fast pack now. Out of My Way Man, the pivot for Ohio, just pulling this pack along, trying to buy enough time for Smacktivist to catch up and force a call off. And it does happen. I'm not sure if any points are picked up on that one.
I see one donut looking for the other one.
There's some discussion between the ref confirming the outside ref and no with the outside ref. No call.
And your jammer refs at the moment, tall glass of water from the Tri-City Roller Girls of Kitchener, Ontario, and divine intervention from Montreal Roller Derby in Montreal, Quebec. An official timeout being called on the track right now.
And this timeout is brought to you by Jackson Skates. It's jacksonroller.com. Skater owned and operated here in Southern Ontario.
Yep, Jackson Roller also contributing to MVP awards this weekend.
Oh, nice.
The B teams will also be getting MVPs on Sunday, and Jackson Roller, along with Rumbling Rage, both companies have contributed to the MVP awards this weekend.
Excellent. Now, if you're just tuning in to the Quad City Chaos, this is the 4th game of the day, the opening day, and the 3rd WFTDA-sanctioned bout. Earlier on, we saw Montreal's new Skids on the block, ranked 17 in the WFTDA, take down number 22 ranked Ohio 385 to 158 in a very impressive and dominant performance by Montreal's new Skids on the block. That was followed up by Toronto's CN Power, ranked number 29, taking on the 42nd ranked Bleeding Heartland, and Toronto CN Power won that one 384 to 69. And we just saw the Bay Street Bruisers from Tord take down Ohio's Gangrene 304 to 94. So it's been a successful day for Canada.
So far. Well, and of course, the next bout between Toronto and Montreal, I think we'll see some more success for somebody from Canada.
And failure.
Yes.
Yeah, tune in for that. That is coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Very, very anticipated showdown between 2 of Canada's top-ranked teams, or the 2 top-ranked teams in Canada right now. It's been a bout that the anticipation's been building, I think.
It has, and it's one of 2 meetings for these 2 squads in this calendar year. They also have a planned meeting in April that'll be in Montreal at Arena St. Louis, leading into Montreal's home team tournament called Beast of the East. Right now, my ref nut, who is one of our officials here at Quad City Chaos, is giving Derby Nerd a bit of an update as to what's going on. But while we're waiting for that, on the 1234 skate code jammer line right now, we've got a new jammer for Bleeding Heartland. That's 594 Malls Dolls, and number 12 for Ohio in black is Kitty Liquorbottom. And Derby Nerd, what do we have?
So number 70, the Mercedes from the Bleeding Heartland Roller Girls, was in queue for the penalty box, but skated out of bounds on her own volition. She was not told to go to the box, thereby destroying the pack and incurring an extra minute. And so she's still waiting in the queue, and she'll be serving 2 minutes when she does get there. And there she is on her way now to the penalty box.
Of course, here at Quad City Chaos, we are still using the June 2013 WFTDA rule set. The set that will take effect April 1st, not being employed this weekend, so all penalties are scheduled as 60 seconds, not 30.
Both packs running into a lot of penalty trouble here as we near just past the midway point of the first half. All three on the track, though, for Ohio, 3-2 pack advantage. Smacktivist jamming in the black, and Knuckle Sammy back out there in the white. And we're off. Smacktivist looking for a line on the inside. Jukes a little bit on the outside past Hurricane, and she is your lead jammer.
Lorraine Acid almost catching Knuckle Sammy. Knuckle Sammy now coming up on the inside, gets past Amy Spears, is through on her initial pass. Is not lead jammer, though, and that honor does go to Smacktivist.
Smacktivist coming up now on a scoring pass, but it's a nice, fast pack. There's only 4 blockers on the track right now. Smacktivist finally able to get around Hurricane, gets 1 point, looking for the other 3. 1 left to beat on the second straightaway. Nice one-on-one defense from the Bleeding Heartland blocker. Finally, though, out of play, Bruzy Ricardo getting a penalty for her extra efforts outside of the engagement zone.
Yeah, she got barked at her bench as she went by. I don't think she quite agreed with that call, but she is going to the sugarbomb.ca penalty box nonetheless.
Oh, and a nice apex jump from Knuckle Sammy to get around the Ohio blockers. Smacktivist letting this one go, and this is a very, very fast pack.
Yeah, this is why you practice endurance, ladies and gentlemen. The pace that they're going right now. We're actually getting a bit of a breeze here over at the Boutcast table, which is behind the team benches.
And I actually think that a game of this pace will definitely favor Ohio in the long run. They are noted for their ultra endurance. They, of course, play massive schedules. They played 24 games in 2012, for example. A little less last year, but they're known for their endurance. And we saw that Bleeding Heartland, that stamina really started to affect them late in the game against CN Power.
Right now, just watching Shanda Rude, captain for Bleeding Heartland, number 13. She's just skated very gingerly on her way to the bench. Seems to be favoring a foot or an ankle.
I saw she had a very awkward fall, and I don't want to guess. I'm not a doctor, but
we do have medics here at the bunker.
That's right. So they don't need the Derby Nerd to be a doctor.
At the moment, she is just trying to shake this one off. It looks like having a bit of a conversation. But meanwhile, on the track, lead jammer for Ohio is 815, Big Rig for Ohio.
And trapped in the pack and being swallowed up right now is number 135 in the white, Speedium Rear. Finally, with 1 to beat, out of my way, man. Has to let her go. There was some confusion on whether or not there was enough skaters to form a pack on the track. And we can see the wear and tear starting to affect this Bleeding Heartland team. Skaters slow to get up. Lorraine Acid wreaking havoc on those blockers, and Speedium Rear coming off the track is another pickup for Ohio. There were 2 points, sorry, picked up for Speedium Rear at the very end of that jam. 100 now to 22, Ohio just passing the century mark.
Another sponsor here at Quad City Chaos is Monster Muffin. Monster Muffin, Canadian-made alter ego athletic clothing. Derby-owned and operated, aren't they all? We bring you the best to look your best and play your best. Find yourself today at monstermuffin.com.
And back underway now, Kitty Liquorbottom back out there, number 12 in black for Ohio, and she is fighting with the 3-wall at the front. Makes a nice little inside-out juke. She's your lead jammer.
Meanwhile, Skate Crime managed to take Bipolar Curves bit down the track, and so Bipolar Curves is only now completing her initial pass for Bleeding Heartland.
And Kitty Lickerbottom in the pack and picking up points now. Looking for an outside line, sees it, and calls it off. And I don't think she meant to.
Yeah, she's kind of like, oh, you see the look on her face. She's kind of wondering, am I still skating around?
Some confusion here.
Inspector Muffin is already in the infield. He's conferring with John Dilks. John Dilks is the crew head for this ref crew, by the way.
So Kitty Lickerbottom, I can see, is saying that she only touched her hips once and then didn't do the second time, but jam's called off. Jam's called off.
Just to let you know, this particular crew that we have out here right now, your crew head is John Dilks. We also have Jules and Regulations, Tall, Glass of Water, Divine Intervention, Hobbit, Patricide, and Parking Lot are the rest of the skating officials for this bout.
It's a pretty impressive roster of skaters, and John Dilks coming all the way up from Philly, right?
That's right. This is, by the way, John Dilks' first Quad City Chaos, as he is a pod person that took over the body of Statsy, who was here last year. So John says that he's very honored to be here for the second time, first again.
The second time, first again.
Something like that. Looks like my ref net's going to come over to give Derby Nerd a bit of an update as to what the discussion was. Meanwhile, on the 1234 Skate Code Jammer line, we've got Smacktivist for Ohio, and looks like number 44, Knuckle Sammy for Bleeding Heartland. Derby Nerd, what do we have?
Just getting a little update that, yes, the jam ref did acknowledge that he was a little too quick on the whistle on that one. But again, jam was called off, so you can't reverse the called off jam.
Cannot turn back time as much as you'd like to. Knuckle Sammy, though, currently lead jammer for Bleeding Heartland.
But being hunted down by a determined Smacktivist. And Ohio with a nice quick pack as Avatar gets peeled off at the back, and that allows Nucky Salmon to come in and call it off. And did she call it off in time? Inspector Muffin does not believe so. He's in the middle of the track, and he's demanding a track cut on that one.
Knuckle Sammy's jammer ref was taken out at the same time.
And perhaps didn't see it.
So I'm wondering if that's what the discussion is, but we don't want to speculate here. So we'll let the officials sort it out as we have an official timeout. And, of course, as all timeouts are this weekend, this one is also brought to you by Jackson Skates. Remember, they have that Jackson Create a Skate program that provides retailers and skaters with the opportunity to mix and match components to create skates best suited to their performance requirements. And you know what? Jackson Roller now also carries a men's line of roller skates. Get fitted for them today, jacksonroller.com. Currently looking at, that was the Honey Badger mascot for Bleeding Heartland.
Oh, yeah, the Honey Badger.
I'm told what that creature is, by the way.
Oh, nice. All right, well, and there's a Honey Badger, of course, plays for the Montreal New Skids on the Block.
That's right. So I'll get all these people together. We will have a bit of a mascot fest this evening. I imagine that for the Toronto-Montreal game, we will be seeing Sparkle and Bolts, the CN Tower mascot. I know there was a dancing bottle of ketchup at turn 3 earlier today.
That cursed bottle of ketchup. It follows Canadian roller derby around. I think it was born at the Beast of the East a couple years ago.
That's right. We have a lot of condiments as mascots in this country. I don't know if that's unique to Canada, or at least Eastern Canada. I know there was a mustard.
I would think so.
Montreal, of course, has a hot dog. I understand the hot dog did not come to Quad City Chaos this year, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, the hot dog is playing, so the hot dog didn't bring the costume.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. And no bananas this year either.
That's right.
I haven't seen Banana in a long time, actually. Maybe if anyone on the Twitterverse, you can tell us what happened to Banana at Talk 2 QCC.
So there was a cut call initiated, or a cut call appears to be on the jam up at the end of the fourth. You're going to get it like during the fourth.
Yep.
So yep, Knuckle Sammy is on her way to the penalty box.
That was a cut. It was between the first and fourth whistle. She entered the track before the fourth whistle had been blown, and therefore it's a cut, and therefore it is a power jam for the Ohio Roller Girls. And they're nursing a massive lead right now, too. 79 points.
Yep, and that's so starting off as the only jammer on the 1234 Skate Code jammer line is number 10, Attaway Wayman. Laura Attaway Wayman for Ohio.
And probably the most experienced line they have right now of Lorraine Acid, Amy Spears, and Avatar. And they're holding back a blocker and a nice trap at Lorraine Acid, who is at least half the size of the other blocker. Couldn't quite hold her. Oh, nice. Out of my way, man, absorbing a couple blows. Gets through, picks up her 5.
Yep, Bleeding Heartland forced to just wait for Out of My Way Man. Now Ohio coming in to do a sweep. Mercedes coming up there, last line of defense along with 407 Hurricane. A couple of shoulder hits from Mercedes, has to let her go. That's another 5 big roller derby points for Ohio.
Speaking of effective lines, this has been a very effective line as well. Oh, and Big Rig just getting back on the track, getting sent off again for a procedure. I'm going to assume she came on the track in front of someone. Out of my way, man.
Looking for people to get out of her way, and they eventually do.
Yeah, she took a step back, saw the inside line, and took it, and bursting back onto the track, though, is Knuckle Sammy. I didn't barely notice it. The pack definitely didn't. She got through, and she's around on her second pass now. So Out of My Way Man calls it off.
So we do get one final point coming in for Ohio on that jam. That's going to put them to 120, 25 points for the Bleeding Heartland Flatliners, and there's just under 7 minutes left in the first half.
It's been kind of a surprising day of one-sided games. I wasn't expecting that coming into this weekend, but it has been. When you think back to the last year, Bay Street Bruisers and Gangrene, for example, had a very tight game here at the, or comparatively tight game here at the QCC, and it was decidedly more one-sided this year. Oh, sneaking in on the inside as Smacktivist was distracting all of the blockers. Lead jammer goes to Bleeding Heartland.
Yeah, and that's Bruzy Ricardo
again. Yeah.
Smacktivist taken down by Special Sass, number 38.
Big hit from Special Sass. There are some big hitting blockers on this Bleeding Heartland team. The Mercedes heading back to the penalty box. Another penalty for the Bleeding Heartland pivot. Bruzy Ricardo has already picked up 4 points, going around for another scoring pass now. Smacktivist is through. Ohio really controlling the pace of this pack with 3 blockers to 1. And it looks like she's going to be forced to call it off before she picked up any points. No points picked up for Bruzy Ricardo on that one. 120-29, 5.5 minutes to go in the opening half of this 4th game of the 2014 Quad City Chaos.
That's right. This is, of course, the second game for both of these teams today. They'll both be back in action here tomorrow on Sunday here in Toronto. At 1 o'clock, Bleeding Heartland tomorrow will be taking on Montreal's new Skids on the block. And at 3 o'clock, Ohio will be taking on Toronto's CN Power in the final game of this year's Quad City Chaos. Those times, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, are at Eastern.
Don't miss that Ohio CN Power game. Talking about last year's Quad City Chaos, there was a thrilling matchup between those two teams. 45 points was the difference, with Ohio coming out on top. Of course, that was the beginning of their march to the championships.
Yeah, Quad City Chaos last year for Toronto was not the success they were looking for. They wound up going 1-2 in that tournament last year with a victory over Queen City. Heartland lost to Ohio, and an upset to the Rideau Valley Vixens from Ottawa, Ontario. Rideau Valley had made that the first all WFTDA tournament for Quad City Chaos last year. They were the newest member.
That's right. Knuckle Slammy very intelligently. Oh, never mind. I was going to say very intelligently waited for the skater who dragged her back to be out of play. Oh, yeah, and she avoided the cut, but then picked up a back block as she re-entered the pack. A little hot.
So, yeah, she did the one thing right, and then that other thing didn't go as well as hoped. So she's now in the sugarbomb.ca penalty box.
And Kitty Lickerbottom very easily glides around the lone Bleeding Heartland blocker to pick up 5 points. With some reinforcements now coming out of the penalty box. 2 blockers on the track for Bleeding Heartland. Kitty Lickerbottom going one-on-one. Pushes her way through at turn 1. 5 more points put on the board.
Yeah, right now, early on, the story does seem to be penalties here. Ohio not looking too bad on the whiteboards. They have a few skaters sitting with 2, but Bleeding Heartland's got 1, 2, 3 skaters with 3 trips to the box, and number 70, Mercedes, has been 4 times. So they're going to want to try to nip that in the bud and get back in this game.
And she's such an important skater for them, too. They can't risk losing her. She's off in their pivot. And Kitty Lickerbottom forced to the inside, forced to come back into the pack and get through, but she gets knocked to the outside this time. So having a hard time in this pass. Nice work by the 2 Bleeding Heartland blockers. Now Kitty Lickerbottom gets through, picks up 5. Mercedes, Amy Spears, both coming back on the track for their respective teams. A nice little hit out from out of my way, man.
Hurricane coming up into coming to blows with the Avatar.
Knuckle slamming, dancing on the outside line, managing to stay in though. Mercedes with a big hit to Kitty Liquorbottom, forcing her out and forcing her back. Nice work by the Bleeding Heartland blockers, and Kitty Liquorbottom decides just to reset rather than re-enter.
Some nice round numbers on the scoreboard right now. 150 for Ohio, 30 for Bleeding Heartland. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's a 120-point lead with about 3 minutes left on the period clock.
That's pretty good math for an announcer.
Well, I do have a pen and paper and carry the one, and that's how it all works.
I tried to count it on my fingers, but I realized I don't have 150 of them.
We had a guy last year that I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Coming off the 1234 Skateco jammer line, 135 in white for Bleeding Heartland. That's Speedium Rear.
And jamming for Ohio and heading straight to the
box.
Penalty box is with her first jam of the game, too.
It's Hop Devil, number 33.
Yes, thank you. So Hop Devil getting an opportunity with the star and going straight to the penalty box.
Speedium Rear taking a couple of large hits there from Avatar. Another couple of shoulder hits. Stays on her feet and is lead jammer, and now has a power jam at her disposal.
Boy.
2 minutes left on the period clock.
I was bruising, though. It took her 30 seconds just to get through the pack and pick up that lead jammer status, and now she's got to do it all over again to pick up a few points.
And Lorraine Acid out there, too, along with Bernadette and Avatar.
Thigh Candy with a nice little offensive block, but it didn't open up a big enough hole. And more recycling. Speedium Rear going all the way back, and you can see that she is winded. They do have a pivot on the track. It's number 314, Bipolar Curves, and she can definitely jam.
Yeah, but she's way on the other side of the track. Can't hand that panty over, and she does call it.
3 points picked up on that power jam. Phenomenal defense from the Ohio Roller Girls. They've got all four of their blockers on the track. And all four of the blockers back on the track, too, for Bleeding Heartland. We've got some, I was going to say we have 5-on-5 roller derby, but...
We have 5-on-4.
5-on-4 roller derby.
So, yeah, so Speedium Rear calls that one, and just to get a fresher jammer out, and that's going to be Knuckle Sammy, 44 on the 1234 Skateco jammer line. She's going to take this power jam over and see if she can cause some damage.
And Hop Devil is standing. She's coming out of the box now, so penalty is over. Power jam done. Here she comes.
She's already got the pivot, pivot lined up, and then she's going to hand that star to Kitty Liquorbottom.
Nice little drag back from Avatar, is having herself a game right now. Nice job. Knuckle Sammy getting a little frustrated. Decides to try and sneak through the inside and does almost a nice apex jump, but couldn't quite stay in bounds, and she's forced to go all the way back now. And you can just see the frustration. Finally destroying the pack being called, sending one of the Ohio blockers to the box. Knuckle Sammy back on the track, tries to weave her way through them, and finally gets through on the second straightaway, just as the jam gets called off.
Yeah, and that blocker going back to the sugarbomb.ca penalty box was Hop Devil, because she was a jammer when she came out of the box, but she's a blocker as she goes back in, having passed the star to Kitty Liquorbottom.
That's an interesting jam. That'll be an interesting stat line.
Time is running out of the period, and yeah, nobody calls a timeout. So we could be going to halftime with this score. Currently showing 156 for Ohio, 33 for Bleeding Heartland.
And it looks like that's going to do it. We are going to go to halftime now. A very impressive half for the Ohio Roller Girls, and I have to say it was that explosive start that really set the tone for Ohio and perhaps put Bleeding Heartland on their heels a bit, and they kind of ran away with it.
That's right, and I mean, Bleeding Heartland did come out very strong in the opening minutes of their bout against CM Power earlier. Took Toronto about halfway through the first half to start chiseling away at that lead. There were some lead changes. We're seeing a very different game right now than what we saw, and this is actually turning into very much what we saw in the second half of that bout.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so that's going to do it for the first half here. It's 156-33 is the lead. We'll be back in exactly 14 minutes for the second half of this matchup between the Ohio Roller Girls and the Bleeding Heartland Flatliners.